What's going on, everyone? It's Justin here, and this right here is possibly the best laptop for everyone on the market right now. It is the new MacBook Air M4 in its sky blue color, and I was someone who's been using the MacBook Air as my daily portable computer for about 3 years now, dating all the way back to the M2. And I've thought over the years, this is a computer that has actually replaced my Pro in on-the-go use, so I would consider myself a typical power user that would typically go with the MacBook Pro, but the MacBook Air, due to its size and portability and the amount of travel that I'm doing, has been the computer that I've gone with, and it's just gotten better with this new generation. So I've been using the MacBook Air M4 for a little bit, and I'm going to talk about in this video whether it is the best value in an Apple laptop that has ever been made. Not only does it come with 16 gigabytes of unified memory base, but it also comes at $100 less than before. And so I just can't see why this is not the perfect computer for those who are looking to pick up a new lightweight and portable Mac due to its chip updates and additional power. The increase in unified memory for the same price, if not a slightly lower price, is something that Apple has done across their Mac lineup in the past year or so. They've really focused on using their control of the chipset ecosystem to give you better value over the years, and I think that is really exciting. Just give you guys an unboxing experience real quick. As you lift up the box, you have the MacBook itself. Taking a look at that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the color and specifically the sky blue. And you have the matching braided MagSafe cable. In this case, that is also in a light subtle blue. And then you have the power brick, which you actually have the option between a dual 35 watt or a single 70 watt. And I find that very handy if you want to be able to charge accessories or your smartphone at the same time. But when it comes to the color itself, I've got to say, the sky blue looks really good. I'm personally someone who usually goes with the neutral colors, but over the past few years, I've actually gone with the Starlight one. But the way that I would best describe the sky blue is that when it's in bright light situations, it actually has a good balance of silver and blue. It isn't too harsh or strong like you would see on some of the previous iMacs. And I think it's going to be a very desirable color that actually takes the place of the space gray in the lineup, which honestly was one of my favorite ones over the years. You have the option between a silver, a midnight one, which I think looks really good but collects fingerprints really easily, Starlight, and the new sky blue. So when it comes to the chipset and the processor, this new MacBook Air is now upgradable up to 32 gigabytes of unified memory, up from 24 last year. And I think for most people, 16 gigabytes is going to be more than enough. I actually had 16 gigabytes of unified memory on my previous generation M3 MacBook Air, and when I was doing like heavy Lightroom editing of large libraries as well as video editing, that is where I would find that it was kind of pushing it to its limit. When it came to doing like short form editing work, I found that that was really the sweet spot for this computer. I capture my videos in 4K resolution for the most part, graded in DaVinci, and then cut it in Final Cut, and having the 32 gigabytes of unified memory, as well as the slight improvements in the core setup, was something that I did notice. I really do feel like the MacBook Air continues to be something that I will use instead of the MacBook Pro due to its portability and incredible battery life. I think a lot of people who are going to be looking at the M4 MacBook Air and seeing it as the perfect opportunity to upgrade are going to be coming from the M1 MacBook Air that had the old design, but with a very solid unified memory processor, and are just looking to make that jump to the new generation of design. And coming from that generation, you're gonna see 2 times faster performance, as well as 3 times faster neural engine performance. And coming from the M3 chip, it is now a 10-core CPU compared to an 8-core, and up to a 10-core GPU. The tools that are coming in at a price point that is so much more affordable while delivering so much more performance has come a long way, not only from 10 years ago, but even in the last 3 years. The MacBook lineup has just made very solid progressions when it comes to performance and value, and I think this is the latest example of it, starting with the base model. So before we talk more about the MacBook Air M4, I want to give a huge thanks to the sponsor of this video, UBG. If you're someone who travels a lot for work or just for enjoyment, one big thing is having the proper roaming plan. UBG is an app that allows you to get an eSIM SIM data plan at over 200 destinations around the world. Whether you have a smartphone or a tablet, just go ahead and download the app, and even if you're not connected to Wi-Fi or data, you can use the app to type in the country that you're currently in or going and pick the data plan that works for you. And as you can see, the prices are very affordable and multiple times cheaper than roaming on a daily basis. Having solid and reliable connectivity for myself and my team while traveling around the world and doing work is really paramount to our daily workflow. So if you guys want to go ahead and get 10% off, just make sure you use the coupon code JustinSay, and I'm going to leave the link on screen and in the description section below, and a huge thanks to UBG for sponsoring this video. When it comes to the display though, that is probably one of the biggest differentiating factors between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro simply has an incredible screen. It is a Super Retina XDR, it gets super bright, it's very color accurate, and even though this display is still very good, I think the MacBook Pro is where, if you want to rely on it for reference color, as well as using it out in broad daylight or in the field, you're definitely going to notice and appreciate those advantages. The MacBook Air, on the other hand, has an LED backlit display that has a wide P3 color gamut, a billion colors, True Tone technology, but it does peak at a brightness of 500 nits, which is kind of like the average for a Windows computer that you'd see across the board, and what has always been on the MacBook Air lineup, despite having a small bump from the previous generations. But it isn't the best display for using out in the daylight in a lot of scenarios, and unfortunately, you don't have the option for a nano texture display. I think what's great here though is that within the price gap, you get really solid power on the MacBook Air lineup, while the display having very accurate colors and the wide color gamut, you do lack the extreme brightness and all of the crazy capabilities of the MacBook Pro that essentially makes it the best display on any laptop in a market, and I wouldn't even say it's debatable. When it comes to the battery life as well, that is also where this display does prove to have some advantages. It's a very slightly larger battery than the MacBook Air M3, but I've always been able to get 1, if not 2 days on the MacBook despite using it consistently. The other improvement in this MacBook Air is the new 12 megapixel center stage camera. It gives you better image quality as well as the ability to move around within the frame, and it'll keep you in the middle. So if you rely on the MacBook for conference calls, for school, and for work, then that is a welcome improvement on the built-in camera of the MacBook. It's not a reason to go ahead and buy the new MacBook alone, but still something worth mentioning. So at the end of the day, is this the best Mac to go ahead and purchase for the most people out there? And I would say the answer is yes. If you come from the MacBook Air M2 and find that you really enjoy the same design and everything, but you would just like to have more power and it's time for an upgrade, then you're going to be really happy with this upgrade, especially if you increase the unified memory to either 24 or 32 gigabytes. If you're someone who's coming from the MacBook Air M1, it's going to be an even bigger change. Not only are you getting a new design entirely, which I think is the perfect design approach as opposed to going with the tapered design, but at the same time, you're going to notice much better performance, better battery life, and you also have a brighter display by a little bit as well. In addition to that, you have the option to jump to the 15-inch model, which I think a lot of people are going to do. Personally, I've been more on the fence of a 13-inch model for the most part over the last few years, but honestly, from a performance standpoint, I was really impressed with this MacBook Air. The M4 with a 32 gigabyte configuration has been a joy to use, and it is exactly what I wanted. The only complaint is I do often use up both of my ports on the side here, and it's just impressive that not only on the MacBook Air lineup, but in the iPad Air lineup, the Air model is, for most people, going to be able to be the better option than going with a Pro because it's still more power than you're going to need. And if you're typically just doing everyday tasks, but occasionally need that additional power, you do have the option to spec it up through the unified memory. The base model really is the best value here, and the only thing that I would do is maybe increasing it to 512 gigabytes of internal storage if you don't want to go with external options. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one.